Hey everyone, welcome to this full moon Sidereal astrology forecast for the full moon on October 1st, 2020. All right, so a full moon in watery Pisces. If you're expecting me to say Aries just then, be sure to check out the link down below for more information. We are using the visible sky called True Sidereal Astrology, which does change the signs from mainstream astrology. All right, so full moon, status check, time of the lunar month. Good to see how are the Pisces energies of ourself doing. Now, Pisces is the side that is more receptive, more willingness to do things that are more important to us on a soul level, sometimes to get some rest and some more peace into our life, and even cultivate our imagination and our more spiritual self and our creative self. Right, an idealistic self could be really good to implement during this full moon. Now, this is particularly important because with all full moons, we do have the opposition with the sun, and the sun being in more improvement-oriented Virgo at this time. It is about doing a lot of work and developing good habits, good routines, fixing things with all this kind of day-to-day energy. So while we're focusing on that, now the question is how can we incorporate some of this receptive Pisces energy, balance work with rest, doing with being, and just all in all, cultivate things that are more important to us on a spiritual level. So the only major aspect with this full moon is a conjunction up to Chiron. So there could be some healing energy coming in. And in fact, some of this more watery energy can be quite therapeutic, quite healing for us, but a great time to illuminate also some things that we can heal either spiritually or physically here in our lives. All right, so let's take a look at this as well as some of the other placements to get a more well-rounded picture here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the chart for the full moon. We have the full moon here at the last constellation of the zodiac, watery Pisces, opposite the sun, who's in improvement-oriented Virgo. And again, as you can see here, we are using the visible sky, which has the uneven constellations. And so this does change the signs from mainstream. So again, if you are new, definitely check out the link down below for more information. All right, so the full moon will be at 16:28 Eastern Time of the Americas on October 1st, which is Thursday. And so for all intents and purposes, we will be feeling this energy collectively around the Thursday time period. So first of all, what are full moons? Full moons are the halfway part of both the solar cycle and the monthly cycle, so the yearly and the monthly cycle. And this has to do with now doing a status check with the energy from the past couple weeks. What are some new things we've been developing? Probably in the Virgo sense of fixing, improving, refining, maybe doing those day-to-day activities. But now starting to see how are those things going and how can we find a little bit more balance with that side of ourselves. Because with all this doing energy of Virgo, we do have to balance it out with the watery energies of Pisces. So what is Pisces? Pisces, again, is the last constellation of the zodiac, which means coming full circle back around to the new cycle, right? Once we get to Aries, that'll be the fresh new cycle. So it's the ending phase of the cycle, which means it's a more spiritual time, right? Pisces is the side of ourself that is more wanting peace, more wanting to surrender things that are outside of our control so that we can find more peace in life and to do things that are more important to us spiritually and on a soul level, right? So this is all getting illuminated. And some good questions to ask ourselves during the full moon is, how is this side of ourself doing? Are we developing this receptive approach? Are we getting plenty of rest and spiritual time? Are we connecting to the things and people and situations that are important to us on a soul level, right? And so it's all about getting more in touch with this inner spiritual self and doing things that are more inwardly satisfying and developing things like intuition, our imagination, our spirituality, our receptive side, our compassionate side, our unconditional side, right? All of this is really good to do a status check with, see how it's going, and now start to implement for the remainder of the cycle. Because the full moon, of course, is a shifting time where once we come to this awareness and do this status check, now we can implement this energy for the remainder of the cycle. So for the next 2 weeks, how can we incorporate particularly this balance between doing of Virgo and rest and receptivity with Pisces. Now, I do want to mention this from the monthly sense as well. If there's been anything that started about 6 months ago that was in the Pisces realm, dealt with something you had as an ideal or a dream or something important to you spiritually, this could be coming up to a high point. Perhaps a culmination, perhaps a harvest with it, but again, also a status check time in terms of how you can implement it for the next 6 months moving forward. All right, so that's the most important stuff here with the full moon. We do have a close conjunction up to Chiron, which is the healing comet. And so Chiron's been in Pisces for the past roughly 4 years now. And so it's been very important to, approach the spiritual life so that it can be healing, right? So when we are getting the rest, it can be very healing, very therapeutic. When we are more present, more accepting, finding more peace, again, that can be very healing and therapeutic. So this whole full moon could just have that healing energy where we're just feeling a little bit more rejuvenated, and particularly internally with Chiron retrograde in Pisces at this time. But it's also a great time to see how can we incorporate this healing energy again moving forward. Are there some things that are coming up that might be wounds or insecurities or inhibitions, perhaps really deep into the unconscious, because it is Pisces after all, and Pisces again illuminates not only the spiritual but also the unconscious, right? So good to dive deep within ourselves to see if there are some things that we can still heal moving forward, whether it's spiritually, but it could also be, like I said, psychologically. It could certainly be emotionally with Pisces, but it could also be physically as well. If there's any kind of healing energy that involves physical health, that could be great to further develop, especially with all this improvement-oriented Virgo energy at this time. All right, so that's the full moon in a nutshell. It's very straightforward, only one conjunction, and it does involve these two constellations. Now, a couple of things I do want to mention with this is we can get more information on the full moon by looking at the rulers of Pisces. So the modern ruler being Neptune, who is retrograde going back into Aquarius. A lot of this more receptive approach to life is probably coming in regards to the future, because Pisces in Aquarius, for about the past 10 years has been this uncertainty about the future, either personally or collectively. So that's been the area, all things regarding the future has been the area where we can practice more of this receptive approach, can practice more acceptance and more willingness to even do things that are more spiritually satisfying. That might be a vision or future ideal of some kind that we can strive towards. Now, Neptune will be finishing Aquarius early next year, around March. Neptune will go back into Pisces, where he kind of dipped into this middle part of the year. But nonetheless, good time to wrap some things up here in regards to the future, the collective, our visions, our ideals, and have more receptivity and more acceptance about that. And we'll likely see by about the March time onwards that everything kind of worked out, kind of happened serendipitously in regards to these future visions with Aquarius. Now, the modern ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. The traditional ruler of Pisces is Jupiter. And Jupiter's been playing a huge role this year with Saturn and Pluto. So with this stellium here and in Sagittarius, with this full moon, it's also in the context of what inspires us and having maybe a little bit more adventurousness or open-mindedness. How can we get into more of this free-spirited energy with this full moon moving forward? This can be expanding our mind through philosophy, more abstract things, opening our perception, but also sometimes quite literally. A bit of adventurousness or opening our literal horizons could also be great. So with the full moon, also see how there's been a lot changing with our perception this year, a lot of restructuring that's been going on with that. But still nonetheless to access this more spirited. And where's our spirit guiding us? What do we feel hopeful about? What do we feel like might be a part of our life path, or feels a little bit adventurous or new or expansive, right? This could be great to incorporate with this time period as well. All right, everyone. So that is the full moon in a nutshell. Put simply, it is a status check time, both in a monthly sense and also in a yearly sense. And the real context is how can we, first of all, how is the receptive side of ourselves? How is our spiritual side? How is our unconscious? Or do we have this more, to some degree, a greater connection with that, right? And listening to our feelings and our intuition and what's important on a soul level right? Spiritual level for us. Maybe some healing to do that. But nonetheless, diving deep within ourselves and in life in this more receptive way can be very healing and very therapeutic. And this is mainly to balance out what is a lot of improvement and refinement energy, day-to-day energy, working energy, trying to, control the physical environment with Virgo. So it's all about this balance between, yes, focusing on what we do have control over, which is the time period for that, but also surrendering what's outside of our control. All right. Focusing on physical stuff, but also spiritual stuff. Focusing on doing, but also being, right? This is the idea here. And you could even say between physical health and spiritual health / mental health, right? This is what this whole full moon's about. So great time of doing this. Creativity, imagination, spirituality, dreams, ideals to follow in the sense of, being attuned to them and enjoying and really being grateful for what we have in our life is a great way of working with this full moon. All right, so everyone have a great full moon. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching this from the MTZ Insiders link, then you're already ahead of this video. But for those of you watching this on YouTube, definitely check out the link down below for MTZ Insiders because these videos are released sooner for the newsletter. But nonetheless, I hope you found this helpful. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet, and I'll see you all next time for the next Sidereal Astrology Forecast. Take care.